Human Rights Council, and that sort of violence is used against the people.
Yeah, it just seems the problems are mounting. Scott Carpenter, appreciate that. Thanks for your perspective. Thanks
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, more from Washington as the day develops. But for now, back to Doha.
The United Nations is warning of a growing refugee crisis as hundreds of thousands of people flee the ongoing violence in Libya. Charles Stratford has this report.
Hungry and exhausted, arms outstretched, they clamour to catch loaves of bread. Tunisia's civil defence are in charge here. They throw food to thousands of men desperate to cross the border from Libya. Jamal Hassan is one of many Egyptians here who have fled the violence.
I am fed up. We won't go home. What's going on? There is no government, no justice. There is nothing here. I'm very sick and my legs are in pain. I want to go home.
As more and more people push to cross into Tunisia, so the casualties rise. Collapsed through exhaustion, this man is rushed by stretcher bearers to the side of the crowd. He's too traumatized to speak. Tunisian authorities say they are struggling to cope.
The problem is we're trying to process as many evacuees as possible in the shortest time and to treat them as fast as possible because their condition is getting worse.
Some of these people have arrived here injured. They are treated in ambulances and a makeshift hospital, victims of the violence unleashed on them by Gaddafi loyalists and mercenaries.
I don't need any money from Egypt. I just want to go back home. There are 26 of us from one street in Cairo, and we want to go home. We cannot wait in this ridiculous situation. It's inhuman. The Egyptian people are going to die. I swear they will die.
This is a Red Crescent hospital camp. A United Nations High Commission for Refugees camp has been expanded once already, providing beds for 10,000 people. But the organisation says it may need at least double that number, and the coordination effort must be better organised.
Well, I mean, this is what the civil defence people have decided to do, just out of the goodness of their heart. I don't think it will change anything, frankly, unless there's an organised. I mean, there's only two ways: either you go in there and try to organise it, or expand your transit facility and draw them in.
The World Food Programme says at least $38 million is needed to fund the relief operation here. But with no end in sight to the violence and fears of a counter-offensive by Gaddafi's forces, a humanitarian crisis is now unfolding fast. Charles Stratford, AlJazeera.
Peter Burkhardt is the Director of Emergencies at Human Rights Watch. He's in Benghazi. Speaking to my colleague David Foster earlier, he said migrants from some nations are being ignored in the rush to evacuate Libya.
It's a very tragic scene here at the harbor every day as these huge cruise ships come to pick up nationals. We've seen cruise ships coming for Chinese, for Vietnamese, for Syrians, for Moroccans every day. And Africans, as well as some other poor Asians from Bangladesh, go every day to try to get on these ships, and they're just refused to get entry on board and go back home to face further violence in the community.
To Yemen now, where a leading cleric has joined the country's opposition movement. Demonstrations have been ongoing in the Yemeni capital. And now the president is blaming Israel and the US for the unrest. Hashim Al-Barra reports from Sana'a.
President Saleh offering a new explanation to the pro-reform movement sweeping the Arab world. A conspiracy, he says, led by the Israelis and the Americans to undermine the Muslim world.
There is a media control room in Tel Aviv, which is the cause of all these problems sweeping the Arab world, and the protesters are just mimicking them. These events are managed by the White House. We hear statements by President Obama asking the Egyptians to do this, then telling the Tunisians to do that. This is none of your business, Mr. President. You are the President of the United States, not the Arab world.
President Saleh challenged the opposition to let the people decide who should represent them in new elections, an offer brushed aside by the opposition and the anti-government protesters who once again converged on this square near the university campus asking for Saleh's departure.
Mr. President, if you love your country and care for its unity, and if you are genuine about preventing bloodshed, go. Nobody wants you. You will eventually have to go.
We are in a situation where the government and the protesters stand their grounds. President Saleh has offered a reform package, but these people are telling him that this extraordinary build-up in anti-government momentum is a clear message to him that he has to go and that he has to do that now. In what could be a significant blow to President Saleh, one of his main allies, powerful cleric Abdelmajid Zindani has joined the anti-government protesters. Zindani told the crowd that the fall of what he described as repressive regimes in the Arab world is a prelude to a new era where Islamic rule will prevail.
Is this the beginning of what will be the divinely guided Islamic caliphate? Let us hope so. To you I want to say, you have embarrassed all the generations that came before you for what you are about to do.
The atmosphere here is festive and defiant. Demonstrators chanting in one voice, Saleh has to leave. Not far from here, a parallel demonstration of Saleh's loyalists waving flags and brandishing his posters. They say they are ready to fight to death for their leader, raising the prospect of a protracted standoff in a country beset by internal conflicts. Hashim Al-Bara, AlJazeera, Sana'a.
You're watching Al Jazeera. Just ahead, African migrant workers in Libya try to flee the uprising as they become victims of targeted attacks. And running out of puff, India's census takers try to contact countless numbers of homeless people in just 2 days.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines,
most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story at this time on Al Jazeera.
As geeks take on dictators, bloggers turn dissidents, and social networks root for social justice, governments are going cyber, spying on their citizens, erecting firewalls like iron curtains and closing down websites. We ask, is cyber-generated change virtual or real? Empire at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Welcome back. The top stories on Al Jazeera. In the last hour, the United Nations General Assembly has suspended Libya from